Right now, the exact same biological building blocks used to keep diabetics alive are, well, they're being mixed in these totally unregulated labs.
Yeah, and then just sold directly on social media.
Exactly. Sold to perfectly healthy people who are just trying to, biohack their way to a flawless body. It is a wild juxtaposition.
It really is.
I mean, think about it. You're innocently scrolling through your feed, just trying to unwind, and suddenly this targeted ad aggressively promises you that a tiny vial of clear liquid can unlock massive muscle growth.
Right, or eradicate all your joint inflammation.
Yeah, or deliver this deeply restorative night of sleep. And the supposed miracle behind literally all of these promises has a very specific name, which is peptides.
It's basically the defining health trend of the moment. I mean, it is completely taking over the wellness space right now.
Oh, absolutely everywhere.
But the sheer volume of claims being made about peptides right now is, it's creating a massive blind spot for consumers.
Which is exactly why you're listening to this deep dive right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you've seen these ads, you've definitely heard your friends at the gym whispering about them, and you're probably wondering if there is actually anything to this.
Or if it's just, more highly produced internet snake oil.
Right. So our mission today is to act as your ultimate filter. We are going to cut right through the TikTok hype, bypass all those dubious influencer claims, and figure out the actual concrete science behind peptides.
No information overload, just the thoroughly researched truth.
Exactly. Just what is actually happening inside the body.
Because the signal-to-noise ratio on this topic is just heavily skewed right now. I mean, because peptides are deeply rooted in legitimate human biology, that scientific legitimacy is basically being weaponized to sell a lot of unregulated products.
Yeah, it's a classic bait and switch.
Totally. We really need to separate the biological reality from the marketing spin.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we can even begin to understand the wild world of internet injectables, or why your favorite athlete might be risking a massive suspension to use them, we have to look at the raw mechanics.
Right, the absolute basics.
Yeah, like at a fundamental level, what even is a peptide and how is it functioning in the body?
So the simplest way to understand a peptide is to actually look at proteins. So proteins are these massive, complex, three-dimensional structures, and they're made up of smaller units called amino acids.
Right, the classic building blocks.
Exactly. And a peptide is really just a short chain of those exact same amino acids. But rather than building structural tissue like a full protein does, peptides act as the body's internal messaging system.
Okay, wait, let me try to visualize this because I want to move past the middle school biology definition that we all got.
Sure, go for it.
We often hear proteins described as a complicated Lego castle, with the amino acids being the individual Lego bricks.
Right, that's the standard analogy.
So a peptide is just a short string of those bricks, maybe like, 3 or 4 bricks snapped together. But a string of plastic bricks doesn't naturally send a message. How does that tiny short chain actually tell the body to do something?
That is where we really have to evolve the Lego metaphor. So think of that short string of amino acids less like a static piece of plastic and more like a highly specific biological key card.
A key card, okay.
Yeah, because of the exact sequence of those amino acids, that chain folds into a very specific physical shape. It floats through your bloodstream until it bumps into a cell that has a receptor on its surface. And that receptor is like a lock that perfectly matches the shape of that key card.
Oh, wow. So it literally swipes the key card, the lock clicks open, and it triggers a reaction inside the cell.
What's fascinating here is the sheer efficiency of that lock and key mechanism. I mean, the body is constantly synthesizing these little key cards to regulate almost everything.
Give me an example of one we'd know.
Well, you have naturally occurring peptides like insulin, right?
Yeah.
Insulin binds to cellular receptors to tell the cell to absorb glucose from the blood.
Oh, I didn't even realize insulin was a peptide.
It is. And you also have endorphins, which are peptides released by your central nervous system. They literally bind to opioid receptors in the brain to block pain signals from firing.
Wow, okay. And the sources also mentioned growth hormone releasing hormone, right?
Yes, exactly.
Which basically swipes its specific key card at the pituitary gland to trigger the release of growth hormone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is an incredibly elegant system. The body is just naturally printing these key cards, sending them through the bloodstream, and regulating our entire internal environment.
And that natural elegance, that's the crux of this entire industry.
Oh, you mean?
Well, if a pharmaceutical company, or honestly, an underground lab, can map out the exact sequence of amino acids that makes up one of these key cards, they can just synthesize it.
They can just copy the key.
Exactly. They can create an exogenous peptide that speaks the body's native language perfectly.
Okay, so if you can synthesize the key, you can theoretically open any door in the body you want, which obviously explains why people are so desperate to get their hands on them.
Right, it sounds like magic.
It does. But this introduces a massive biological hurdle that I was reading about. If these are just amino acid chains, why are we always seeing people inject them?
Right.
I mean, there are oral peptide supplements out there, like those big tubs of collagen powder everyone scoops into their morning coffee. But the really potent stuff always seems to involve a literal syringe.
Yeah, the syringe is an absolute necessity because of the digestive system. Your stomach is literally designed to break down amino acid chains.
Right, it's basically a vat of acid.
Exactly. It's filled with hydrochloric acid and enzymes that specifically target and dismantle those bonds.
Yeah.
If you swallow a potent synthesized peptide, your digestive tract will basically shred that key card into individual useless pieces long before it ever reaches your bloodstream to find its lock.
So the expensive collagen powder I'm putting in my coffee is, what, likely just being digested as expensive dietary protein?
Yeah, pretty much. It's not acting as a targeted cellular messenger anymore. To get the key card to the lock completely intact, you have to bypass the stomach entirely.
Hence the needles.
Hence the needles. That is the biological reality. And bypassing the digestive system with an injection is a serious medical intervention, which really brings us to the massive divide in how manufactured peptides are actually being used today.
Right, because we are looking at a huge fork in the road here in this deep dive. On one side, we have rigorously tested, FDA-approved medicine, and on the other side, we have this unregulated Wild West of internet wellness trends.
Sight and day.
So let's tackle the legitimate medical side first. The source material notes there are over 100 FDA-approved peptide drugs on the market today.
Yeah, and those 100 drugs represent decades of painstaking clinical research. We mentioned endogenous insulin earlier, but injectable insulin, the kind that keeps millions of diabetics alive every single day, that is a synthesized peptide drug.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And we also cannot talk about medical peptides without bringing up basically the biggest pharmaceutical story of the decade.
Oh, you mean the GLP-1 agonists?
Yes. Drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy.
Those are prime examples of this lock and key mechanism we've been talking about. So GLP-1 actually stands for glucagon-like peptide 1.
Okay.
Naturally, your intestines release this peptide after you eat. It travels to the brain to signal that you are full, and it travels to the pancreas to stimulate insulin production.
So what are the pharmaceutical versions doing differently?
Well, the pharmaceutical versions are synthesized, slightly modified versions of that exact key card. They bind to the same receptors, but they're engineered to degrade much, much slower in the body.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, meaning the signal of I am full stays activated for days instead of just a few minutes.
That is incredible. They literally hacked the satiety signal.
They did.
So that is the medical miracle side of the coin. But when we flip that coin, we land on the targeted ads selling unverified, non-FDA approved injectables directly to everyday consumers.
The Wild West.
Yeah, where sellers are promising massive boosts in athletic performance, rapid tissue healing, anti-aging benefits. But I have to push back on the risk factor here on behalf of our listeners.
Sure.
Wait a second. If FDA-approved Ozempic is a peptide, and the unverified internet powder is also a peptide, I mean, if an underground lab synthesizes the exact same amino acid sequence, aren't they basically doing the exact same thing? Why is one hailed as a medical breakthrough and the other flagged as a sketchy gamble?
That's a really common question. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the danger isn't necessarily in the intended amino acid sequence itself. The danger is in the synthesis process and the complete lack of oversight.
Because it's not being made in a sterile pharmaceutical lab.
Exactly. Manufacturing a peptide is highly complex chemistry. You are binding extremely fragile molecules together. In an FDA-approved facility, there are rigorous protocols to ensure the peptide folds correctly, that it binds to the correct stabilizing agents, and most importantly, that the final product is pure.
So a mistake in a shady lab means the key card basically gets printed with a defect.
Right. It might not fit the lock at all, or worse, it could actually jam the lock.
Oh, geez.
Or it comes with dangerous hitchhikers. In unregulated underground labs, the synthesis process often leaves behind impurities.
Like what kind of impurities?
You can have heavy metal contamination, leftover chemical solvents, or endotoxins.
Wait, endotoxins?
Yeah, they're bacterial toxins that can cause severe immune reactions if you inject them.
Wow. But the people selling these vials on social media, they obviously aren't advertising them as contaminated experiments. How are they even legally selling injectable substances directly to consumers without a prescription?
Oh, they exploit a massive legal loophole.
Of course they do.
These unregulated peptides are almost always sold with a tiny disclaimer on the bottle that reads, "Research chemicals not for human consumption."
Ah, I've seen that.
Right. Legally, they are selling them to you as if you are a scientist running tests on cells in a petri dish.
Even though the marketing is clearly aimed at a guy trying to get abs.
Exactly. The influencer sponsorships, the dosage calculators on their websites, it makes it abundantly clear they know exactly how the consumer intends to use them.
They're essentially winking at the camera while handing you the syringe.
Basically, yeah.
And this brings us to the demographic that seems most captivated by this gray market. We see why doctors prescribe the FDA-approved peptides for specific diseases, but why are perfectly healthy people, specifically athletes, bodybuilders, fitness enthusiasts, so willing to inject research chemicals?
Well, athletes have actually been utilizing peptides quietly for decades.
Really?
Yeah, but they aren't generally taking insulin or GLP-1s. They are looking for very specific biological triggers. The two main categories that completely dominate the fitness space are localized tissue healers and systemic growth hormone triggers.
Okay, let's break those down. What is a localized tissue healer actually doing? The names that constantly pop up in fitness forums when I was researching this were BPC 157 and TB 500.
Right, those are the big ones. So BPC stands for Body Protecting Compound. It is a peptide sequence that was actually isolated from human gastric juice.
Gastric juice, that's wild.
Yeah. And in animal studies, BPC 157 has shown exactly. Instead of injecting synthetic human growth hormone directly, which carries massive legal risks and huge side effects, users inject a peptide that swipes its key card at the pituitary gland.
Oh, so it's telling the body to ramp up its own natural production of growth hormone.
Correct.
Which accelerates muscle growth, fat loss, recovery. I get the appeal.
Oh, the appeal is huge. But because of these profound physiological effects, most international sports governing bodies treat them incredibly seriously.
Yeah, here's where it gets really interesting to me. We are talking about major organizations, right? From the NFL to the NBA and the World Anti-Doping Agency.
All of them.
They classify these specific peptides as performance-enhancing substances. If a professional athlete is caught using BPC 157 to heal an ankle sprain faster, they are penalized just as heavily as if they were caught using anabolic steroids.
Exactly, because the athletic commissions view them as a distinct, unfair biological advantage.
But for the average gym goer, the ban almost acts as an endorsement, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%. They see the NFL banning it and think, well, it must work incredibly well.
Which creates this stunning paradox in the fitness community. I mean, you have people who are meticulously tracking their macronutrients, they're weighing their organic chicken breast, obsessing over their sleep hygiene.
Yeah, doing everything right.
And then they will completely bypass all of that rigorous health focus to inject a mysterious liquid they bought from a website with a not for human consumption label just because an influencer swore it healed their knee.
This raises an important question about our current cultural landscape, honestly. We have shifted away from traditional medicine, which, focused on treating illness, and we've moved toward this obsession with optimizing wellness.
We don't want to just be healthy anymore.
Right. People want to be superhuman. And when you are chasing optimization at that level, your threshold for risk changes dramatically.
There is also a psychological element here that I think we are ignoring. The very act of using a syringe. Well, if a supplement comes in a pill, we kind of brush it off as just another vitamin. But there is a psychological weight to preparing a vial, drawing back a plunger, and injecting yourself. It feels serious.
It feels medical.
Exactly. I imagine the placebo effect for an injectable fitness trend is astronomically higher than just taking a standard powder.
Oh, I'm sure the ritual of injection definitely amplifies the perceived efficacy, but we have to be clear. The risks are not a placebo.
Right, the contamination risks we talked about.
Yes, but even if the peptide is perfectly pure, we just do not have long-term human data for these fitness-focused compounds. Let's take BPC 157 again. It might promote new blood vessels to heal a tendon.
Which sounds great.
It does, but what if there is an undetected microtumor nearby? Angiogenesis feeds tumors just as effectively as it feeds muscle tissue.
Oh, wow. That is a terrifying biological reality. It'll just build a highway of blood right to the tumor.
Exactly. It is the ultimate unknown. There is a really striking quote in our research from Dr. Peter Cohen, speaking to Harvard Health. He stated that when you use these unregulated gray market peptides, you're really just, quote, experimenting with injecting amino acids into your body.
You aren't biohacking. You are essentially running an unlicensed phase 1 clinical trial on your own body with zero medical supervision.
And you are assuming all the liability.
Yeah.
Another expert highlighted in the source material, endocrinologist Dr. Beverly Chang, she offers a very grounded perspective on this.
What does she say?
She advises anyone who is determined to pursue peptides to just step back and ask themselves, what are you actually hoping to achieve? And are there safer, more proven ways to accomplish that exact same goal?
Because if the goal is to fix nagging joint pain or lose stubborn weight, FDA-approved options in established physical therapies already exist.
They absolutely do.
You don't need to navigate legal loopholes and buy research chemicals to find relief.
Exactly. The foundation of human health is rarely found in a trendy shortcut.
So what does this all mean? If we zoom out and just synthesize everything we've covered today in this deep dive, peptides themselves are not inherently dangerous or unnatural. They are the literal lock and key messaging system of our biology.
Right. They tell our cells to heal, to manage blood sugar, to block pain.
And when meticulously mapped and regulated, they are the basis for life-saving, FDA-approved medical breakthroughs.
The underlying science of targeted amino acid chains is absolutely going to define the next era of medicine. There's no doubt.
But the viral internet trend, the targeted ads promising you superhuman recovery and anti-aging miracles from an unregulated vial, that is a massive gamble.
A huge gamble. The supplement companies are just leveraging a halo effect.
Right. They are borrowing the medical credibility of heavily researched drugs like Ozempic or insulin to sell you an untested, potentially contaminated experiment.
And they are relying on the consumer's desire for a quick fix to override their basic critical thinking.
So, for you listening right now, the next time a targeted ad tries to sell you the secret to physiological perfection in a syringe, remember Dr. Chang's advice. Take a breath, consult an actual medical professional, and look for the proven, regulated roads first.
Because your endocrine system is not a playground for internet research chemicals.
It really isn't.
It is entirely too delicate of a system to risk. But looking through all of the biological data on how these receptors work, I actually want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over.
Oh, I love a good lingering thought. What is it?
Well, we spent this entire time talking about exogenous peptides, right? Key cards manufactured in a lab and introduced from the outside.
Right, through a needle.
But we know the human central nervous system is already a massive factory for endogenous peptides.
True.
It naturally releases endorphins to lower stress. It naturally triggers growth hormones during deep sleep.
The internal pharmacy is already fully stocked.
Exactly. So what if the ultimate optimization isn't an injection at all?
Okay, where are you going with this?
What undiscovered, completely natural triggers exist in our daily environments that can hack our own internal peptide production?
Oh, wow.
Think about the physiological impact of the music we listen to, or the specific temperature of the rooms we sleep in, or even the neurological safety triggered by deep social interactions.
So you're saying our environment is the trigger?
Yeah. If our bodies are designed to release these powerful chemical messengers in response to our environment, how much of this internal power can we unlock just by deliberately changing how we live?
Without ever needing to rely on a single needle.
Exactly.
That completely flips the script. Instead of buying a questionable key card from an ad on your feed, you just learn how to tell your own body to print it naturally. I love that.
It's so empowering.
It really is. So the next time you are scrolling through that digital gauntlet and an ad promises to fix your life, just remember, your body might already hold the exact key. You just have to know how to turn the lock.